Hi, I'm Brandon Reyes with TRU Ball Release and AXCEL sites, and today I've got some important information about the GOAT thumb activation or back tension release that I want to share with you. If you've purchased a GOAT release, or if you're in the market of maybe purchasing a GOAT release, I can tell you it is one of the finest thumb activated releases and back tension release combo that we've ever made, that's ever hit the market. But there are some key information and some key adjustment settings that I want to show you how to properly adjust. So if an archer has taken their GOAT and switched it from back tension to thumb activation mode, it is important to adjust this screw on top of the release here that is for the travel on the back tension mode properly. So if an archer likes this screw or has this screw in rather close to the bottom or in a very slow back tension mode, which means that it is this screw is turned in counterclockwise because it's a left-hand thread. You can kind of see it's below the surface of the body of the release. So if an archer has that slow, which is rare, but there are archers that like a back tension that's slow, you need to remember that this screw, when you switch it back to thumb activation, needs to be 1.5 turns from bottomed out. So what I would suggest is, if I'm a back tension shooter and I have it in almost all the way to the bottom, like you see here, I'm going to count the number of rotations or the half a rotation or whatever rotation it is and memorize that. So when I go back to back tension mode after coming from a thumb activation mode, I can set my travel of my hinge in a proper place. So I'm going to kind of do that now, and I'm going to get an idea of where my back tension release is set right now. So you're going to turn the set screw, because it's a left-handed thread, counterclockwise. So I'm turning the screw counterclockwise, and I went 1/2 turn from bottomed out. So I know now when I go back to back tension from thumb activation mode that to set it where I like, I'm going to set it 1/2 a turn from bottom. With that being said, when I switch it from back tension to thumb activation mode, what I have currently is basically a training aid. So if I have this screwed all the way bottomed out and I hook the release up, the release will still cock, and I hook it up and I pull the trigger, the bail will not open. So it's in a safe setting or a practice mode or whatever you want to call it, but the release will not fire. That's why it's important when you go to thumb activation mode that this screw needs to be backed off 1.5 turns. So with that being said, I'm going to go I'm going to go clockwise 1.5 turns. And then if you want to, you can snug your lock screw up on the side here. Now, that is the factory setting for the back tension. With that being said, it does not affect the sensitivity or the travel on the back of the release. It's just simply locking the head or the bail here to not fire. So be sure this adjustment for the travel on the back tension has to be 1.5 turns from bottom before the thumb activation will work. So now when I cock the release, hook it up to my rope, my bow, the release will fire. So that is the important information I wanted to share to you. This is basically, with that screw being all the way down, it's basically just a training aid. You can use it for setting D-loops, setting P-pites, or just practicing. But for it to function properly in the thumb activation mode, that adjustment screw for the travel has to be backed out 1.5 turns before it will actually release the bail. So when I go back to back tension now, and I remove my pin on the top here, and I remember that I like this release slow, then I'm going to turn my adjustment screw counterclockwise all the way in, and then go back 1/2 turn. So now when I get it in the back tension mode, it's slow like I like it. Most people, like I mentioned earlier, will like that adjustment screw out farther as opposed to being in farther and slow. And if you have that, if you run into that situation, then you will have no problem switching it back and forth and having to worry about noting where your back tension travel screw is set, because that screw will already be out far enough that it will not be a factor for you. And your thumb activation will work and your bail will work as well. It's just important to remember that that screw cannot be in too far. If you visualize it and it's flush to the top of the actual handle of the release here, you should have no problems. If you want to run it in and use it as a training aid, just bottom it out and you'll have that. So that's some important information on the GOAT. As far as the sensitivity and the travel, those are set just like any of our other blade releases or any other releases that we made in the past. To set it from the factory, simply cock the cocking bar. If you want to adjust the travel, put your Allen wrench in the back, turn it clockwise till the release pops, and then back it off 1/4 of a turn. That's our factory setting there on this travel. On the top here, which is the sensitivity, you can run that screw in and out. Just remember to keep it at least flush with the top of the body. You want some spring pressure or spring tension on the spring with the set screw, and you will have no trouble. Remember that clockwise, compressing the spring is going to make your release heavier. Counterclockwise to that flush body, flush position on the handle will give you your lighter settings. If you have any other questions or need any other information about the GOAT release or any other releases that we make, feel free to contact us at www.truball.com.